on World Menopause Day today, super excited to have Georgina Langdale, from the founder of Archaeus and the creator of NatFem, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. We have been connected through Dr Samatha Newman, who is also provided an interview for the Sexy Aging podcast for World Menopause Day. So this is a double whammy, and we're talking about vaginal dryness, which is a massive topic, to be honest, and it's one that I hadn't explored in depth before this moment. The podcast has been going for about 18 months, but I've been hearing more and more about this particular symptom during menopause, and I just went, you know what, we're going to talk about this because not enough people are, and I know that there are women out there that are really struggling with this. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast, Georgina. Welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much. And you know, I think there can be such a thing as Happy Menopause Day. So I'm just going to put that out there for starters.
We're going to change that. I think the ideal eventually is that we don't have to celebrate it for a day to create awareness. I think the fact is that there is the information. People easily have a conversation. So that's where we're kind of heading towards. And with women, the way we are in our midlives, we're pretty gung-ho. We'll get shit done. This will happen.
We will indeed. But you know, you look back and you think, you know, you go into menopause and there is a bit of, oh my God, no wonder my mother never told me about this. But it's fantastic that finally we're changing that. And people such as yourself doing these podcasts and things to help bring issues out into the open are really wonderful. So thank you from a lot of us out there for what you're doing.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there on the podcast, and for the listeners today, I am starting to experience some vaginal dryness now. When I released my book, I couldn't speak from an authentic perspective on that symptom. So I had a good friend. She wrote her story about her experience with vaginal dryness so that it was real and authentic, and I would never write something that I'd never experienced. So that her story is in the book, but I didn't have a story about that. But now I'm starting to experience it, which is actually really interesting. But I want to hear your story. So you've actually come through menopause. You're in postmenopause now.
I am a postmenopause champion of the universe.
Oh my God, Nirvana.
I have to say right off the bat, I have found with all the symptoms and stuff that we go through with menopause, I have found the menopause transition to be the most empowering, amazing roller coaster of a transition of my life. But I love it. I love being a woman in my mid-50s. I feel like I have stepped into my power, and it's been really wonderful. But yes, along the way, I've done the roller coaster that, you know, many of us, if not all of us, go on. So my story, goodness me. Where do I begin? I'll begin with menopause. Shall I do that?
Let's do that, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, my connection with menopause took me by surprise, and literally because we just weren't given information about it, were we? You know, there's just hasn't been much out there. But I had come back to New Zealand in 2013. I'd been working in Europe for years doing all sorts of things. And I came back and I set up my business, Archeus, which was a complete change from what I was doing. I'd been working for the UN and Kew Gardens and running a cultural communications agency in London. But I'd always been interested in how we work with nature for physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So I came back, I set up my business Archaeus in 2013 to make natural skincare products from a medical herbalist perspective to help with physical and emotional stuff. And over time, the range started to develop mainly in response to requests from customers. I became a bit of a go-to for the sort of difficult stuff that we end up dealing with. And a woman came to me who was postmenopausal, and she said that her vaginal dryness was so bad that she was splitting when she walked. Could I help? And I went, oh my God, I didn't even know that was a thing. Of course I want to help. at that stage, I was perimenopausal. So I was having the kind of periods disappearing and then for months and then coming back, like, waiting for a bus at the bus stop. They all suddenly come along at the same time. But I hadn't experienced vaginal dryness. And I started doing a lot of research, and I found that, most women will at some point experience vaginal dryness. So that was surprise number one. Also, I had many women customers at that time who, quite a few of them were going through cancer treatments. So there was a big fear around estrogen, bringing in more estrogen because that may feed certain cancers. So I took that into account. But the other thing was, a key thing around vaginal dryness is lubrication, but we always think about lubrication around sex, not just daily comfort. So I kind of wrestled with all of these things and created this balm. But during my own, and I'll come back to that later, but so for me, menopause started off with irregular periods, which drove me crazy. But I found some things to help. And then the vaginal dryness came along. And to be honest, even though I understood the issue, it still took me by surprise. And how it manifests can be things like you can split when you walk, or loo paper. Who knew loo paper could be so deadly? That can just create a split or a tear, very, very painful. So all of these things kind of can occur. Then I went through all the brain fog and fatigue, and that was hard. That was the one that really snuck up on me. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and it just gradually, incrementally, you kind of thought, what is going on? And I knew it would pass at some point, but I have to confess, I then, and I'm a nature girl, but I talked to Dr. Newman, Sam Newman, and I went on HRT, and it was fabulous.
Yeah, well, we have very similar situations. I come from a fitness and wellness background where I believe that you can implement healthy changes in your lifestyle to manage your menopause symptoms, and 1,000% I'll still stand by that.
Yep.
But starting up a new business, and this is where I think we're similar, like our timelines, we're in perimenopause and starting a new company.
Yeah.
The brain fog and the anxiety was next level, and it really made me doubt my abilities to do anything across a business.
Yeah.
To support new people coming through the business, to train and inspire and educate. And I started thinking, I can't remember the words. But I didn't even know at that point that I was in perimenopause. But I feel like from a timeline perspective, you're in perimenopause and you're also starting your new company. Would that be right?
I was, and there are other contributing factors. When you think about the time of our lives when menopause strikes, we can be in a real sandwich moment between kids, growing up, leaving home or whatever, and then you've got your parents. I don't have children, but both my parents, literally about the same week that my business went live, my mother was told she had 6 months to live.
Oh my God.
She lasted 18 months. Wow. And my father had dementia, and so he lasted another 5 years after she died. So he died 3 years ago. So from the beginning of setting up my business, I was in perimenopause. Not that I really realized it until I realized it. My parents were both very unwell, and then since both died. This actually has taken my journey, and I'm getting brain fog. I just thought, mostly I thought it's because of all this other stuff going on. I didn't actually think maybe it's my hormones in the middle of this.
Yeah.
Once I thought that and identified that, it really has changed things. And but also I realized then, I'm all red now, God, look at me, hot flushes and stuff like that.
Oh, it's well allowed here.
Yeah, I've kind of gone through all of that, but when they come like this, it's because, you know, you're a bit nervous or something's happening, and but the body holds the wisdom. So what I've also learned is when we pay attention to the patterns around the things that are happening, hot flushes and things like that, we can usually find, yes, it may be hormonal, but yes, also there are other external factors. So now I know when I get a hot flush, you know, like now, perfect, beautiful timing, it is because of something else going on, that extra glass of wine or whatever.
Yeah.
So, or a stressful conversation or whatever it is. So that has been really enlightening. And actually, I have found that when you can pinpoint it to a mix of hormones and external factors around you, you can really stop beating yourself up so much.
Yeah, I love that part too. So understanding how cortisol impacts on your stress, right?
Yep.
So that's a stress hormone. It's not a bad stress hormone. People kind of tag it as a bad thing, but it will elevate during a unusual situation, like being interviewed for a podcast, or you know, going on live television, or you know, those things would be absolutely normal. And the fact that you and I are having a normal conversation about that happening right now, and it's happened to me multiple times. You know, so
I've got
I mean, it's good for the listeners right now to go, actually, this shit is real, and it's we are who we are, and you know, we understand if they've ever experienced it. It happens to everyone.
I've got two really funny stories. A couple of years ago, I was on the live breakfast television program.
Yeah.
And about my product I made, NatFem, and they had a jar of it on the kind of table, and the camera man, and it had a different label to what it has now. Cameraman zoomed in on it during live breakfast television, and then he saw the word vagina. And he zoomed back out quite quickly, and he came up to me afterwards and he said, "Why didn't you tell me the word vagina was on the tin? I've just put the word vagina on live breakfast television. How could you do that to me?" And I kind of went, "Oh, sorry." Another story, though, on the flip side, was somebody was helping me to get the word out for this product a bit, because it's helping so many people. And the women's magazines, I have to say, really shocked me. They didn't want to do any coverage of the product because of the word vagina.
Okay, so this is actually a super interesting conversation right now, because I use social media to let people know that a new podcast episode has dropped, or that I have some new information around symptom management, or, you know, I've a lot of kind of different resources happening to support women in this space.
Yeah.
I was out walking this morning and I'm thinking, can I use the anatomically correct word for the woman's reproductive body part in social media, or am I going to have to star out a couple of letters? And how ridiculous is that? Like, I'm having this moment right now, Georgina. So how, you know,
okay.
Right? So maybe you can help me out, because I would like to call this episode the vagina episode.
Well,
we're talking about it, but can I use that word in social media? I don't know. I'm going to find out by next week, aren't I?
You give it a go. I over the years, advertising on social media and stuff, I have had so many ads rejected, and for reasons like they're too gender specific because of vagina.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I wrote to, you know, you can guess what channel it was that was blocking the ads, and I said, "Look, guys, if you want menopause and a dry vagina, fill your boots." You know, this is an issue anyway. But I have, in saying that, I have noticed over the last couple of years or so that my ads aren't getting banned as regularly as they were. And yeah, so just but try. I don't blot any words out now.
No, I don't plan to. I'm just curious as to what
I don't know
might
what
happen.
I don't know what it does to the algorithm.
Yeah, well, I know that even my brand, Sexy Aging, has had some questions.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because I use the word sexy, which in the algorithm can show up as sex and then can be banned or whatever. But, I never ever went into that use of those words to become contentious. I guess it really is.
Yeah.
It's just the message that you can be sexy and you can be aging, and they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
It's always been about that.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting when it comes to social media and algorithms and email addresses, interestingly.
Oh, wow. Gosh,
Mm,
that's interesting. But I think when I hear you saying that, I think of it as a real reflection of where we are, where society is at in terms of taboos, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. And
And,
we're still trying to smash through it. So we'll
and
just we'll
yeah,
just keep going, Georgina.
yeah, well, keep going. So there is this push and
Yeah,
pull and tension
yeah,
between wanting to talk about this stuff and then actually being deleted, from channels. So I think we just have to keep pushing on with it, really.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah. So menopause, though, I keep coming back to this thing too, that all things come to pass. So when you're feeling really down because you've got a hot flush or vaginal dryness, there are things you can do, and it might feel horrible when you're in the middle of the eye of the storm, but it moves on, and it can be so empowering.
Yeah,
And I think that sexy and intimacy and all of these things shift and move and evolve with those bodily changes. Yeah. So do you want the good or the bad side of all of that? Where do you want to go with this next? Because there's so much stuff to talk
yeah.
about.
That's actually interesting that you've said that too, because last week I delivered a workshop for quite a big company in New Zealand. I talked about menopause and how that affects women in the workplace. What was really interesting, a couple of women came up to me. So this is about the good and the bad part. A couple of women came up to me. They said they'd done a couple of other workshops before, a couple of
Yeah.
online ones, and they left feeling a little bit down about what's ahead.
Oh,
But they said my workshop, which actually goes into this is how you support this stage of life and it's going to look amazing out the other side.
yeah.
They'd never heard that.
Oh,
Which was, here's all the things that you can do. And I said, just out, because I've given you like 25 things you can do across movement and nutrition and rest and stress recovery and all of that. And I said, just choose 3 because it can be so overwhelming with brain fog and
yeah.
things. So I said, like, here's all the things. Now choose 3. Now write it in your phone and just do that for the next month and see how it feels, and track your symptoms. And then a lot of women came up to me and said that was the most empowering, proactive opportunity to take control of the menopause for themselves.
Yeah.
So, and that is uplifting. That's the good part, right? And I think
Yeah.
we're on a similar page with that. Like, yes, there is some. It's a bit fearful. I think fear is in the unknown.
Yeah.
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 And when we talk about it, it's no longer something to be feared
Yeah.
because there is stuff you can do. Yeah.
I get so over the last few years since I started making this so I make a balm called NatFem.
Let's talk about that. And
Yeah,
because obviously we're talking about vaginal dryness,
we're talking about
vaginal
vaginal
dryness.
dryness. So
Yeah.
if we go back to the beginning of the interview, I mentioned a woman came to me. She said, "I'm so dry, postmenopausal. My vagina is so dry. I split when I walk."
Yeah.
And I created a balm to help soothe and repair that problem. That has opened the doors to I get messages and conversations and stuff with women literally around the world now who are coming to me because of this product. I surveyed my customers a week or so ago, and I found out that over 13% of them are actually getting recommended it by health professionals because, and we come into reasons why. Anyway, I have heard so many stories about the good and the bad of intimacy through menopause. I want if I may, before I get into those, just do a little biology lesson, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And I think that this biology lesson is not just useful for women, it's useful for communicating with their partners as well.
Absolutely. Let's go, Georgina.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So in pre-menopause, before the menopause bust comes along, our estrogen levels are high, our pH levels in our vagina and vulval area are low. That high estrogen keeps the pH low. That creates a happy home for good bacteria, for lactobacilli. Lactobacilli, their secretions and stuff help our mucosal secretions and keep it all nice and juicy and lovely, and everything's great. And they help prevent candida and bacterial, the bad bacteria coming in, and candida coming in. When we go into perimenopause and through menopause, the estrogen levels drop and the pH level rises. It gets more alkaline. And as that happens, the good bacteria, those lactobacilli, can't live in that pH level. So they start to die off. So that starts to affect mucosal, juiciness. And so you've got less mucus, you've got less good bacteria, you've got thinning vaginal walls, and the bad bacteria and candida start to colonize. So bad bacteria, it's like enterobacteria that come like from your bum and your digestive tract and things. They colonize. And so there we have the problem. Interestingly, sperm has a higher pH than our vaginal area. So, lots of sperm can also kind of raise the pH and create that problem. So what do? We go off and find some lubrication. And this is the bit of the research that I've done over the years that has just shocked me and kind of lifted the roof of my head off. Water-based lubricant.
Sorry, Georgina.
Yes.
Just wanted to say that I think when you talk about shocked, it comes back to the way that women's health is managed generally. Yep. Don't you think? It's like we're kind of left on the back burner. Like, oh, that can't be such a big problem. We'll address it like when someone shouts loud enough.
Yeah, and you think the word hysteria and hysterics, it all comes from womb,
Yeah.
That's how we're treated. Oh, she's hysterical in women's issues or something.
Oh, that's really interesting. Never thought of it from that perspective. But yeah, now that we're shouting loud enough that we're not being looked after the way that we should, and it's at the best interest of everyone, partners and families, and So anyway, I love the direction you're going. Carry on.
So, good bacteria, bad bacteria. We go and vaginal dryness, mucus is going. So what do? We go and get a lubricant. And they're water-based. Most lubricants on the market are water-based. And we feel, oh, it's got that slippy slidey. Great. They're slippy slidey because, like 99% of them contain glycerin, glycols, or glycerol. That's what gives that slippy slidey thing. And glycerins, glycols, glycerol, polyglycerol, they kill lactobacilli. They're basically sugar. They create a feeding ground for bad bacteria and for candida. And I kind of think of it like the SCOBY, in your kombucha or kombucha, it feeds on sugar.
Yeah.
So that's, kind of what's going on. Bad bacteria come in, and they can then create UTIs, vaginosis, itching. A lot of those inflammatory vulval and vaginal issues are coming because of that bad bacteria coming in, because the good bacteria has died off because of a mix of changing pH levels. And then in cases of using a lubricant, that introduction of all that kind of glycerin. Glycerin also, I've read studies that show that it increases herpes outbreaks.
Wow. Okay.
It kills bacteria and it impairs sperm motility. It's just like, oh my God. And the World WHO, they recommend that personal lubricants should have this level. It's called osmolality. Like, try saying that in a hurry.
Yeah.
The number is 380. They say it shouldn't have more than that. But most commercially available water-based lubricants far exceed that. And some I've seen in research are way more than 10 times that level.
Yeah.
And so be careful. Yes, we need lubricants. Be careful what you read the small print. If you see glycerin, glycols, glycerol, stay away.
Yeah, I actually wrote about the osmolality. Can't say the word, but I wrote about it in my menopause memoir from the World Health Organization recommendations. So when it came to how to manage vaginal dryness, I felt confident that I'd given the right information. Yeah. So it's really good to hear it here as well.
Yeah. So where there's water, basically there's bacteria and there's osmolality.
You did it.
But so oil has no pH and no osmolality. So oils, you hear people using like coconut oil and things like that as a lube. Oils play nicely with our vagina and vulval area. They play terribly badly with condoms. They'll make them split. But for us and for our bodies, and if we're not needing condoms, they're great. So when I was making my balm, I thought no water, no glycerin, and a lot of, but I also wanted to put in herbs that have a long tradition for wound healing, antifungal, a whole lot of stuff like that.
Amazing.
So that's what I do.
Okay, so for the listeners as well, your background is you're a herbalist.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about that. So
no, I was a closet herbalist for years, but I've come out and and
never heard that before, but welcome.
Thank you. But I had from a very early age, through various things that happened, I really became conscious of how we can work with nature in a whole variety of ways to help us heal through trauma or through physical things or whatever. And so that naturally led me on to training in herbalism and things, because I wanted to explore that further. And so my approach, and then I trained a massage therapist and all sorts of things. And I was global communications for a UN project. So nothing really in life makes sense, but it all comes together.
It does. And our wonderful midlife years, isn't it? Interesting.
How it does pull together. And so I started from that starting place of how can I work with nature to help people, and I've helped predominantly women heal, feel good about themselves, and support themselves in physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually through life. And that's what I do. And I didn't ever in a million years see myself being so donkey deep in vaginas, but but to help people, I get emails and messages. Some of the saddest things I've seen is women, you start getting vaginal dryness, you love your partner, you want intimacy, but it is so painful.
Yeah.
And I will put my hand up and say, with my vaginal dryness journey, I experienced this as well. There's this terrible feeling of starting to retreat, and it's not to do with loving anybody any less. It's because of fear of pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a really good conversation now, isn't it? Because it's sort of like that chicken or egg thing. Is it the vaginal dryness, or is it that I don't want to be intimate with my partner? And I feel like for a lot of women, it starts with the physical challenge in menopause.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally right. So you start to retreat. You think, oh, I know I did it. You kind of think, oh, I don't want to do anything, make any gesture or anything that could be an invitation.
Be interpreted as your game.
It's an invitation to
It's
sex.
game on. Yeah.
It's game on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the Barry White on the,
Yeah.
but so you start withdrawing, and then the next worst thing to that is then seeing the look in your partner's eye, because they're scared of hurting you too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that I have had so many stories of women saying, can you help me feel like a woman again and bring intimacy back again? And then I've got one client sent me a message after using product for a while. She said, oh my God, she said, my husband, he puts the
Let's do this.
pot on the pillow.
Oh.
On the pillow. So she goes to bed and it's like, hey baby,
Yeah.
the pot is on the pillow. I thought that was hilarious.
How awesome is that? I mean, you have, that's a game changer, Georgina.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we can have a little giggle about it, but that is, for a relationship, and knowing that when partners go through menopause, it's one of the highest stats of relationship breakdowns.
Yeah.
Is at this stage of life, and a lot of it has to do with lack of intimacy, because of fear of pain, because of vaginal dryness, because of taboos of not talking about it. So it's all the things.
Yeah.
But that little pot on someone's pillow has literally saved their marriage.
Yeah, but also I would say there are other things that can save it too. And one of the things I've become very, very aware of over the last few years is the role of pelvic health professionals. So specialist physiotherapy for pelvic health issues can make a huge difference for women, particularly if you're suffering with prolapse and things like that, or various sort of physical trauma from childbirth.
Yeah.
And I think that the ACC is now looking at treating these issues, and it can make a massive difference. And there is a pelvic health directory, I think .co.nz, where you can find pelvic health specialists in your area. So they will help you get some, help with things like incontinence and prolapse and stuff like that. I really recommend that as another thing to help.
Yeah, I think you're right. I actually interviewed Kim Vopney, the vagina coach from Canada,
right,
in the podcast last year, and that's what she does. She specializes in pelvic health.
Yeah.
But I also believe it could, I mean, if there are any physiotherapists out there having a little tune in and listening in, that it might be a really amazing opportunity for them for longevity in their career to consider retraining as a pelvic health physio. Because we are the fastest growing demographic globally, women in menopause. So the need will be great, and the opportunity for anyone who works specifically in that area I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. And also for men, it helps men as well, because men, if they're having prostate problems and things, it can help. There's a statistic at this moment here in, we're in New Zealand, around 6% of the population is suffering from symptoms because of menopause. So that's like 256,000 women here in New Zealand at the moment are sitting there going, oh my God, I have got vaginal dryness or brain fog or something. So, it's a huge, huge issue. But I also think that that issue of closing down intimacy for fear of hurting you is just a heartbreaking thing.
Yeah.
I think also, though, I have found menopause can also be incredibly liberating. And what I'm thinking about when I say this is, if we can have a complex relationship with sex, can't we?
Yeah.
And things like abuse, trauma, damage after childbirth, all these things can set up complexity and promiscuity, whatever it is. And so in some instances, menopause, that dampening down of all of that kind of thing,
The drive.
that drive,
Yeah.
can actually be, oh my God, what a blessing.
Mm.
You know, for instances where complexity about one's sex life gets tricky, and then suddenly it doesn't matter so much anymore because of a drop in libido. Oh my God, revelation. So I think that is really lovely. It can be a real stepping into one's power. I think I'm childless, and I know for me, I did the classic Liechtenstein painting of, oh my God, I haven't had children yet, as I was racing towards menopause. When menopause came along, I thought, this is wonderful, because it's a line in the sand. There are no more what could be's. It's like, this is what it is. And all those things, whether it's because of abuse or childlessness, whatever, suddenly menopause, you have this lifting and releasing of a whole lot of baggage.
Yeah, it's done. You can't revisit it anymore.
No. And,
yeah.
and when you're not running around like the kind of, you know, the Duracell bunny, there is so much more room up in this head to think about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you have the opportunity to really blossom, you know, in your creativity and your dreams and wishes and spirituality. I don't know, whatever it is.
Oh, I agree. I mean, yeah, I'm literally sitting in that space now where so much of my day-to-day life is around the creativity of what I'm able to do for women.
Yeah. Oh, it's empowering, huh?
Oh, it's just waking up freaking excited. And yeah, the symptoms are still there, and sometimes occasionally they might hold me back. I might not be able to go as fast as I'd like to go, but then I remind myself I can only go as fast as my body and mind will allow, and therefore I just enjoy that. Like, I fully enjoy it. I used to, like you say, race around like the Duracell bunny and tick all the boxes and try to get this done and that done, but I never once took a moment to step back and go, that was good.
Yeah.
You know, just celebrate, oh, that was a really good job there. That was really good work there. I was always on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Now I actually do have quite a few moments where I just sit down, have a think about it, go for a walk, talk to a friend about it, like really take the time to embrace, you know, the things that are happening today. I think that's the highlight of menopause for me too.
Yeah. And don't you think that also when we have these moments now, you know, the fog comes back or the hot flush or whatever, I think of them as indicators and reminders for empathy and compassion.
Nice.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
They remind you know, we're living this just like so many other women that are kind of coming along the conveyor belt towards us.
Yeah,
we're heading on past others. You know, it returns to it reminds us that, oh my God, yeah, that hot flush thing is really, but it passes. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I had told her a few years ago that with my hot flushes, I used to surf them. I would picture myself on this wave, just, and I'd go with them. And she said that was the single most best bit of advice I've ever had about hot flushes. The other thing also is, I keep thinking, and because I mean, I've got customers in their 90s that I mean, it's just wonderful. But sex after menopause, I've decided, can be like a bit of like a fine wine. Okay.
Yep.
You might put it in the cellar for a while. And
you're good at this. Your analogies are just spot on. It's so good.
And you give it a little turn every now and then to stop all that rubbish, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
But it becomes something, I think, and from what I'm learning from the women who've gone down this conveyor belt before me, it can become like a fine wine, you know. It becomes mellower, it changes, it is different, because also our partners are aging too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we don't talk about that, right?
No.
We don't recognize that they're actually having physical, mental, and emotional
Yeah.
changes as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So intimacy and sex and all of these things shift and change. And that's kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
We don't have to be forever 30,
Yeah.
There's real power and beauty. So I think of it as the fine wine, the bottle might go in the cellar for a while as we're going through the menopause change, but something else changes, and our partners, regardless of gender and anything, are changing too.
Yeah.
Aging is beautiful. We have a season for everything, and this season of menopause and postmenopause, I think, we can make it as amazing as we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but not with glycerin.
No. So I want to kind of wrap up
Yes,
our
please.
conversation, because I think we've just covered so many awesome
Mm.
topics, a lot of things that we hadn't planned, and I absolutely love it, and that's the whole point of having a conversation. So you have NatFem, and I just want to applaud you for the recent recognition in the UK, shortlisted in the Pure Beauty Awards in London, which is amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you. For best new sexual or intimate care product.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done. Go you in Havelock North. Right?
Yes. New Zealand.
Yeah, in New Zealand. So yeah, how do people access NatFem? And I'm just going to say right here, I have never promoted any particular product or brand through Sexy Aging, but this is my first time actually talking about a brand that I wholeheartedly support. I will be using it myself. I'll be obviously encouraging other people to give it a shot. How do they access it?
Okay, well, NatFem, I'm a tiny little producer, so you can get it from my website.
Yeah.
And it's called NatFem, or NatFem Botanics. I will send it to you myself. You will get a little handwritten note from me.
So
and
nice.
I've got customers all around the world, UK, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So that's all fine. I can get it to you. And you will find, I'm finding increasingly, I'm getting health professionals, doctors, gynecologists, whatever, asking for samples to use in clinic and to give to women in clinic. And so you may see it popping up there. I'm not selling it in chemists and things at the moment because I just haven't got to that point yet. They release
I get it. I understand.
But I have been really, to be honest, I have been really blown away over the last few years by what this is doing. And so for me now, I'm really focusing in on how I can support women going through menopause as much as possible, because it is so important. We're not alone. There are people who can come and help in so many different ways, and this is part of my way of helping.
Yeah, it's awesome, Georgina. We're a team sport in this conversation. So it's amazing. Thank you. I'm going to post about how to find NatFem in the show notes.
Can you put your link? Yeah, I didn't know whether I should say it or not.
Yeah, no, I'll put it there, so it's really easy. People can go to the show notes, click on the link, and have access directly to NatFem. The balm that they're looking for, because you've got a series of products there.
So there's the balm you're looking for. There's NatFem Original and there's NatFem Super Soothing. NatFem, says it on the tin, was the original one. That contains, among the ingredients, it contains beeswax to give it that structure. Mm-hmm. And NatFem Super Soothing is vegan. So I've replaced the beeswax with plant waxes and oils, and both of them though have all the healing herbs in it, sort of plantain and calendula and chickweed. Who knew? It's so funny that a plant called chickweed would be so helpful for us menopausal babes,
for us chicks.
and but also just remember, I've made it so it can go in the most delicate of areas, so you can actually put it anywhere if you've got itches and things. Just
amazing.
And then I've also formulated products for face and body and things to, help with herpes outbreaks and stuff like that. So that's all there on the site. And if you have any questions, email me through the site, message me, I'll answer them.
And send your stories, right? Because we love stories. I know that whenever someone comes and tells me that something that I've put out there or written or spoken about on the podcast, when they come and tell me, whether they write it or actually send a voice message or whatever, my heart starts racing.
Yeah.
Do you get that as well? I cry. Yeah, my heart races, tears well up in my eyes.
Yeah. It's going kind of lie down or something.
It was that thing you were saying about empathy.
Yeah.
Just goes up massively because, you really, really get and understand this stage of life and how it's affecting women.
And how difficult women have found it to talk about it, too scared to talk to the doctor or a partner or even friends because, oh my God, I can't admit, I've got this.
I can't admit it. Yeah.
So many of us do have these things. And, so if you start off by talking to us and you work your way out from there, fine. But, you'll be surprised when you do start talking about it, how many people will go, yeah, I know exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Georgina.
Thank you, Tracy. Wonderful. It's been gorgeous spending this time with you.
Likewise.
Thank you.